Even today, more than a decade later, it remains the pinnacle of this genre. The story is adapted from the popular novel Interstellar, although it's over 2 hours long. Consistently captivated the audience's attention. The scenes fighting the monsters in the film make you feel as if you were right there. Definitely a visual feast for space series enthusiasts, not to be missed. The story begins with an urgent letter. Seeing his uncle's anxious tone, he did not dare to sack off for a moment. He had to cut short his plan. However, when he arrived at the manor, he was told that his uncle had already passed away. Ed was somewhat incredulous. She knew that Upcore was not only cured, but also a recipient of the Cross-Star Medal. With such robust physical condition, it was impossible for him to suddenly die. Upon hearing about his uncle, Ted covers who learned that in less than 5 minutes, he glanced at his aunt's consciousness and suspected that his uncle was just teasing him. He was always tirelessly digging around the world.
Not long ago, we found another hole. On Java Island. On what island?
Next, he went to the Warming Islands to find another cave.
He claimed it was purely research.
But I always felt he was looking for something.
I suspect he has already found something. Looking at the wall full of investigation files, it was then that Ed finally believed everything. Then he followed the lawyer to the cemetery. But strangely, his uncle's tomb had no keyhole. The door could only be opened from the inside. The lawyer noticed his confusion. He bluntly stated that it was Paul according to the will, and Carr specifically instructed, no preservative to you, no way of the coven, and no funeral. After saying that, the lawyer turned and left. Ed stepped forward to check again, but still found no clues. After returning to the room, the lawyer took out the journal left by Carter. Upon learning that only he could read it, Ed eagerly opened it. But after just glancing at the contents, he was completely stunned, and never expected that. The absurd stories he heard in childhood were actually both his uncle's real experiences, recalling that magical place called Basum. I can't help but feel a sense of longing. And all this starts with the American Civil War 13 years ago. At the time, Carter's wife and daughter were cruelly taken by the ravages of war. Exhausted in body and spirit, he began exploring the world. He intended to suppress his inner pain this way. Little did he know, as soon as he arrived in Arizona, he discovered signs of a gold mine in Bonita. But before he could prepare his supplies, the cavalry colonel came knocking at his door. When he heard he would be sent to fight with the Apache, Carter did not hesitate to choose resistance, but was swept out by a rifle instead, and he was taken to a place with a few people. Even when locked in a biome cage, Carter still did not give up. He first lured a bird with the sound of running water. Then he knocked him out and brought the key to the cage. But plans never keep up with changes. Just as he left the town, he was stopped by the Apache people. He tried to assert his identity, but the cavalry gave him no chance at all. Seeing this, Carter immediately rushed out. But after riding a short distance, he heard the colonel's despairing shout behind him. Feeling compassion, he immediately returned to save him, but with the horse being too burdened, they were unable to escape the pursuit at all. In one of desperation, Carter decided to use the terrain to his advantage. Just as he was about to take action, seeing the strange patterns on the rubble wall, Carter couldn't resist his curiosity and entered the cave. But inside, besides one similar pattern, there was nothing unusual. However, when he looked up, he was stunned by the sight before him. The cave ceiling was exposed to a vast amount of gold. Just as Carter was getting excited, a bald man suddenly appeared behind him. Carter, watch your back. Carter. Seeing that the bald man remained still, Carter carefully stepped forward to check. When he saw the glowing emblem in the man's hand, he snatched it away. But before he could examine it closely, the bald man uttered a strange phrase. What did you say?
Basum.
When Carter opened his eyes again, he found himself lying in an unfamiliar desert. Seeing the unfamiliar plants around him, he instantly realized something was wrong. Just then, a bright light suddenly flashed from the distant mountain. Carter wanted to go investigate. However, just as he lifted his foot, his pilot unexpectedly jumped several meters away. Using his hands to push off the ground, he felt an unprecedented lightness. Carter was extremely shocked. However, it was more important to determine where he was. But the ground seemed to be pulsing with an invisible force, forcing his body to leak freely. Every step was no longer grounded, but felt like swimming through water. It felt as if the entire world was encouraging him to jump. No. Looking at the stone that had fallen hundreds of meters away, Carter finally understood his transformation. Then he excitedly hopped towards the mountain. However, when he reached the bright area, he discovered a strange structure. What he had seen was merely the reflection caused by the glass cover. Carter hastily brushed away the sand on top. To his surprise, it was filled with moving X. Before he could react, an unknown creature hatched out.
What kind of place is this?
Looking at the green creature with 4 arms, Carter realized the seriousness of the situation. Just then, several dark shadows were swiftly approaching. Noticing something was wrong, he wanted to leave, but the monster had already crept near. Fortunately, he reacted quickly. This is why he wasn't pinned down. Looking at the attacker's strange appearance, Carter was stunned in place. He had never heard of such intelligent beings on Earth. But before he could even ask, the distant monster pulled the trigger. Just when Carter thought he was about to die, the attacking monster stepped forward to stop its companion. Then it removed all its weapons. It slowly walked over, Looking at the monster's sincere demeanor, Carter forced himself to stare despite his fear, but as soon as they began to communicate, they discovered they couldn't understand each other's word. When he saw the monster gesturing, Carter immediately understood its meaning, so he leapt up with all his might, heading straight for the monster's weapon. However, he hadn't figured out how to use it. He was shot in the butt. He was completely captured by the monster. Shortly after, Carter was taken to a magnificent ruin. There were even more monsters living here, and they were fighting over the newly hatched little monsters. They didn't care whether they were their own children or not. Carter was assigned to a scarred monster. At that moment, a monster walked past him. After seeing what was hung at the monster's waist, he immediately pushed the monster aside and rushed forward, but before he could touch the emblem, he was abruptly pulled up, and a huge blade was held at his neck. Thankfully, the previous monster intervened, so he wasn't killed by the blade. Seeing the monster causing a ruckus for himself and his comrade, Carter couldn't help but feel touched, but before he could express his gratitude, the monster told him to show his jumps. Watching the monster's reactions, at that moment he finally understood. The monster always saw him as a trophy to boast about. Realizing his true intent was exposed, the frustrated monster lashed out immediately, then commanded to have Carter taken away. He saw the smaller monsters undergoing a cleansing ritual, and as a human, he was not spared either. After they shaved off all his hair, Carter was tossed directly onto the ground. Just when he felt completely hopeless, a handful of powder was thrown at him. What made him more helpless was, the monster unusually brought a large pitcher again. With no choice, Carter had to immediately open his mouth. Unexpectedly, just as he swallowed the liquid, he fainted immediately. When he woke up again, a vast amount of information suddenly filled his mind. These green creatures were actually the Zap. The scarred monster was named Sola. The one who had communicated with him was the tribe leader, Jenica. What he bred was a liquid called Basum's voice. Seeing that the Zap had only assigned a hound to Bart, Carter quickly broke free from the chains they let out. How did I end up here? Saying that, Carter jumped again, but all he saw was that silly big face. Not believing the situation, he started jumping wildly, yet no matter where he jumped, the hound could always find him accurately. It could even predict his movement. In desperation, he jumped straight into the sex banquet hall. Seeing the emblem in Jenica's hand, Carter planned to seize it amidst the chaos, but unexpectedly, the hound burst in and started barking furiously at him. Seeing this, Carter prepared to leave, but the Zap suddenly turned on the hound. Hearing the tragic howls, Carter, unable to bear it, jumped into the crowd to stop it. To his surprise, he knocked the Zap away with a single punch.
One hit and you're done.
Wait. I don't understand what you're saying now, but what answered him was the wrath of the Saxons. Next morning, Drury, Carter and Solo were tied to the pillars, but strangely, Saxons did not punish Carter. But on Solo's back, they left successive brand marks. After the punishment ended, the attack discovered the Iron Chains and approached, hearing that Solo would be executed for another mistake. Carter felt deep guilt in his heart, but just then, the guard suddenly shouted, as several warships swiftly approached. The attacker hurriedly instructed the tribesmen to hide in the shelter, but to Carter's surprise, the Saxons showed no sign of